Hi. So this morning, I was sitting on the beach, just listening to the waves. And what came to me was a phrase that was gifted to me by a master energy worker, horse whisperer named Coel Simpson. And the setting was a conference for life coaches. And in this tiny little room that was packed with people wanting to hear from her, what she brought up and what she articulated was this feeling of frenzy, this energy directed at becoming successful and building a certain size business as a life coach. And so she asked us to write down what we would feel when we've achieved that goal of being successful or building our business. So bringing our mind to the end state of having achieved that thing that we're striving for, what would we have and what would we feel? And that was the first question. The really powerful energy work that I now recognize 2 years later, after turning it over in my mind and in my experience in my body for that amount of time, now I really feel it in my cells as the master energy work question that she asked was, after we did that exercise, she asked, now, what would be amazing? What would be amazing about having nothing? And the reason it was so masterful was that it was exactly the question we were not asking ourselves. It's exactly where our attention was not going. It was exactly where we were not putting our energy into this feeling of appreciation and awe at the opposite of what we were striving for. And what I know now about what that does to our energy is that it unties the knots. It takes our fist from this grasping position to an open, palms up position. And that act of untying a knot, or even loosening the knot, or even just opening a little bit on our grip, opens a channel that allows in a kind of energy that is totally disallowed when that knot is tied or when our fist is grabbing. And what it illustrates is exactly the falseness of our illusion that when we set a goal and we just completely focus on achieving that goal and striving and grasping and attaching to that goal and having our vision narrowed to the point where we can only see the goal, and we set aside everything else, not just the other people in our lives, but the parts of ourselves that might get in the way of that. So when we take that kind of an approach to a goal, those of us who've done that know that even when we reach that said point that our mind has said, okay, once we get there, then we'll be able to feel okay or do the other things. Even when we get there, those of us who have done it know that we don't feel that sense of satisfaction or completeness that we thought we would when we reach that point. And in fact, we don't feel free to do the other things or let go of whatever it is that we were striving for, even when we get there. Now, why is that? And this is exactly where I do coaching with people. Because if we continuously attach to the goal and set aside all of the parts of ourselves that may get in the way of that single-minded pursuit at all times, one, we don't know how to turn it off because that's the skill that we're practicing. We're practicing tying the knot and gripping the fist. And we're practicing narrowing the vision because that's what we believe we need to do. So even when we get there, we don't know how to turn it off. And those other parts of ourselves begin to hurt because they're either neglected, misused, abused, set aside, ignored, or atrophied. And it doesn't feel good. No part of ourselves likes to be atrophied. No muscle likes to be atrophied. We actually need opposing muscle groups in order to function and support our bodies in space. When we become imbalanced in one group versus the other, we experience pain or deformity. So with this question that Coel gifted to us, what it does is it gives us an opportunity to see where the knot is and to begin to untie it a little bit, or to see where we're gripping and our knuckles are white, where we might soften and see what's there. And in my own practice of this in the last 2 years of my life, the practice of letting go of the narrow focused vision and the absolute striving toward these imagined goals has revealed to me is that exactly the unloosening or the loosening, exactly the loosening of the knot or the ungripping of that fist is the energetic pathway that enables the flow of what we truly desire, what the heart truly desires to come in. And that original goal that we set was the mind's substitute for achieving the heart's desire. It was the mind's way of saying, it's not here right now, but if you get this goal, then you'll feel it. It's the mind's inability to dwell in the appreciation of what is already here that sets this goal outside of ourselves. And it's always outside of ourselves. No matter what we achieve, it's always out of our reach. Those kinds of goals. Now I become aware of a different type of approach, and I call it visioning instead of goal setting. So we can form a vision which comes from our imagination, and it includes sensory details of how we feel in our heart and how we feel in our bodies, and the kinds of sensations, touch, taste, smell, sound that surround us and when we're feeling that way. And we can set this vision, and once we set that vision, we bring our attention to experiencing those sensations. And that involves untying the knot, loosening the grip, and opening to receive the many, many small ways that these sensations are available to us in our current world, in our current life. And we build that skill. We start to build that skill of becoming open and receptive and appreciative of the types of experiences that bring us into alignment with our vision. And the accumulation of that kind of moment to moment, day to day, week to week, month to month practice, the accumulation of that results in living a life that is in alignment with the vision. And you can keep creating visions. More will come to you as you walk through life in this way. The difference between a goal and a vision is that in the process of living this vision, untying the knot, opening the hand to receive and to dwell in appreciation of everything that is, every little sound, this bird that's over my shoulder, or the ocean over there, or just the way the sun is coming through the tree right now, or the breeze, or one particular breath that can wash completely through the body. Those skills accumulate, and what happens is there's a daily feeling of connection to the heart's desires. It can be found in moments every day. So as we walk this path in the process of life, in alignment with our vision, we're amazed. And what I learned from that question from Coel, what would be amazing about having nothing, is that when we answer that question, when we really breathe into that scenario, we discover that our heart's desires are very much present and available to us right now. They may sound something like freedom and space and being unencumbered by ownership, being open to all possibilities, because from nothing, anything is possible. So this practice of being amazed by what is right here in this moment, not by what is absent. Because when we are focused single-mindedly on one particular goal that is always not here and is in the future, we have to ignore what's around us in the pursuit of what we believe we personally are in charge of bringing in to our lives. And the truth is that we're not single-handedly responsible for bringing the things into our lives. We are responsible for our energy and our attention and our choice of how to focus our mind. But we are part of a bigger process of life, a natural process. And there's an element of surrender in all of life. When we ignore that surrender, it's when we grip tightly with the fist, or we tie that knot really tight. We don't leave room for any of the mystery, any of the amazing attributes of the natural world to enter into our awareness. And it's always there. It'll come knocking on our door in some form to wake us up when we need to. But what I'm talking about is coming into harmony and balance with the natural processes that are always going on and that we're always a part of. So my invitation in this moment for you is to try this energy practice for yourself. See where it takes you. Again, I'm talking to you 2 years after this was gifted to me. So, first I invite you to imagine whatever goal it is that you're believing you need to pursue and that you're striving single-mindedly toward. And I want you to imagine yourself already having achieved that goal. So take your mind to the end state. Imagine it in detail. What does it feel like in your body? What do you have in that state? And how do you feel in your heart? Being that person that's already achieved that so important goal. It could be any goal. It could be a career goal. It could be a relationship goal. It could be a change that you believe must happen in order for you to have happiness. It could be a financial goal, geographic change. So imagine yourself already having made the change and feel yourself there and answer the question, what do you have and how does it feel? And once you've done that, I invite you to ask this question. Really breathe into it and sit with it for as long as you need to come up with at least 3 feelings, sensations. And that question is, what would be amazing about having nothing? And if you can bring your mind to that state of having absolutely nothing, to imagine that in detail, feel yourself there. Feel who you would be and how amazing it would be to have nothing. To find 3 words to describe what's amazing about that. And again, the feeling is like untying a knot or loosening a knot just a little bit. Or taking your fist and just softening it for a moment. You might open your palm. What if you just soften the muscles of your hand enough to feel that feeling for a moment? What would be amazing about it? Enjoy that. Let me know 2 years from now